Hello and welcome to another 20 to 25 minute of me talking about a topic that just randomly comes to mind. Well, to be honest, this is actually not any random topic, but this is actually something I've been thinking about for the past month. Well, I suppose that's not even accurate either, but what's the best way to say it? I thought about it like last month, and um, while I was just planning this whole vlog thing, and then I just kind of forgot about it when I got busy with life, and then now I'm just coming back to do this. So, um, I suppose what got me thinking about it was when I was watching Game of Thrones, in which I should probably give a bit of a warning in that there may be mild spoilers from the first 3 or 4 seasons. I'm actually not. I'm actually not watching the current season at the moment because I guess I'm a bit paranoid with the whole privacy thing. No, not privacy. Pirating. But yeah. But otherwise, I will mention things from Game of Thrones that may be slightly spoilerish, but I'll try and avoid in sort of like story elements in general. So one of the things I was thinking about, and that actually came. No, I should avoid spoilers, so I should avoid mentioning the scene. It's just that basically with sort of like in the olden times or even back then, it's like when people lie, it's like it's like back then, or at least in the Middle Ages, or basically in times older than now. It's like you could probably get away with a lot more things than today, because it's like, say for example, you committed a murder. Today there's a lot of detection tools, crime scene techniques, and there's stuff like hell, I mean, they've got things like blood splatter experts. They've got coroners who are able to determine the cause of death, that sort of thing. So, but think if you think back in history when they didn't have those things, how much more easier is it for people to get away with things? So that actually got me thinking about some of the parts, or some certain parts in Game of Thrones where um okay, I give up. I'm just gonna mention a couple of spoiler scenes where one that comes to mind is where I don't remember the episodes, but there was an episode where Caitlin Stark was in the pub or in like a bar, that kind of house, and Tyrion Lannister was also there. And basically what Caitlyn did was she kind of like rallied the whole pub to basically arrest Tyrion, and it was basically all she had to say was that this is an interesting item. Nope. And basically all she had to do was declare that she was Caitlyn Stark, and sort of basically related to the guy who runs the place, Ned Stark. From memory, what happened was that one person vouched for her, and as a result, the whole pub sort of just rallied with her, and then she was able to sort of like not kidnap, arrest Tyrion, and sort of just take him under her control. And I was thinking, like, how could it be that, like, say for example, it could be possible anyone to walk in to plant someone else there as like to vouch, and to make a false and unverifiable until later claim that that it is someone important. And that was the other thing when I realized when I'm thinking about the scene where I think it's Ned's other brother, Stannis, where he was at the Iron Bank of Bravos, and his assistant Davos was like basically claiming that Stannis was the rightful king of Westeros. Um, and well, from memory, the scene when as follows, it was like when Davos announced Stannis, he was basically just saying, "Lord Stannis, King of Westeros, blah blah blah," and all those titles, and until the bank guys, well, Well, from memory of the Iron Banker brothers, so it was probably like the guys they were speaking to. One which was played by Moffat. I can't remember his first name. Ian Moffat. No, that might be my high school science teacher. But it was just basically saying, well, you know, they sort of like tried to not fool, but it was more like they maybe thought that with a claim like that people would just take them on their word and believe them, unless they knew otherwise, in which was the case in that particular scene. And the other scene that comes to mind is with I suppose there's not really like so much lying, but it's more like well, I don't think it's lying. I don't think it's lying so much because it's not really verifiable. But I'm basically thinking of Daenerys Stormborn, where she was kind of like well, it's like when she had a shitload of titles with her name. It's like Daenerys Stormborn, blah blah. You know, I didn't ever bother to remember them. But and then it was just like and Mother of Dragons to end with, and I was just thinking like, well, are any of these verifiable? And that to me was just really interesting, and it's kind of why I realized that I really enjoyed the characters of Littlefinger and Varys so much, because they, in my eyes, were intelligent enough to sort of how to say it, I guess manipulate. Even though it's probably not the most tasteful word to say, but basically to manipulate people or know what to say in certain situations. So it was kind of like they sort of knew the way around people, and because they were kind of just like spies as well, they sort of just knew how people work, or knew how people sort of like they sort of knew how people operated, and they were just sort of able to manipulate them in that sense. And I guess it was just that appearing intelligent that just, for me, I just found very attractive in the characters. Ooh, I've got a burning skeleton after me. Okay, there you go. So, and well, the same I guess I'm not sure if you can say the same about Varys, but it's like, what's the best way to say it? Sort of like as a spy, he's sort of like privy to information that, you know, like I say, the general person would not know because of their spies. And in that sense, he's sort of like smart enough not to, I guess, err on the wrong side of certain people, so to speak. And whereas Littlefinger is a little more, this is interesting. I'll take a look at that later. We'll put that, well, so everything first. No, I think I had another green item somewhere as well. You know, no big deal. So it was like, Varys is someone who knows a lot and knows how to keep himself out of trouble, that sort of thing. And I guess I really enjoy watching these kind of characters, because they're sort of like, they're the people who know things, and they know how to create around others. And I guess that's also partially because that's like the kind of person that I am. I like knowing things, and yeah, I sort of, in a sense, try to know things and use that knowledge to sort of just keep myself out of trouble, that sort of thing, or just to sort of be conspicuous as a person in general. Because it's I'm just trying to think of a situation. It actually reminds me of a moment where I was out, one person commented that it was really hard to catch me. She found it hard to catch me because I was always sort of just like disappearing and just kind of just reappearing in places. And I guess to some people I do that a lot, and it's sort of like, it's sort of looking at the situation, knowing when's the best time to sort of like slip out. And ooh, I've got a level. Okay, missed the item there. Okay, so it was just kind of just like judging the situation, knowing when to slip out, and sort of just like when to make an appearance or whether to say anything. And while I will admit I am probably a little more on the cautious side than most people, it's at the same time I sort of just usually see to my advantage to sort of like avoid drawing attention to myself. So I don't consider it a bad thing, but I suppose some people can see that as being a little antisocial, which I mean, if that's your perspective, I can't really change your mind. Well, not so much change your mind. I mean, I can only give you my reasons for doing so, and kind of just leave it at that, I suppose. So, quite frankly, it doesn't bother me too much. I'm not one who likes drawing attention to myself. It's sort of like I'm just a guy who do things, and I would just, I guess, leave a fairly minimal footprint, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose that's how I would describe it. I mean, it was like what happened yesterday was that I was just kind of out with a bunch of people, and while I kind of just slipped out while they were making plans for after we had all wrapped up for the day and they were just making plans for tomorrow, I just took the opportunity to slip out while they were talking. And yeah, because I was like, I just don't want to be, hey guys, bye, and just sort of just draw attention to me for that one moment, because like I don't consider myself that important of a person for like everyone to say bye to. And it's not out of I suppose, yeah, you can obviously tell I haven't thought about this. I guess I just don't want to be conspicuous in that sense, and it's just like draw more attention to me that is necessary. And if I can slip out without people noticing, then that's kind of the route I would take. But I digress. I guess, and so back to the whole sort of just like lying or just knowing information, sort of just knowing your way around people. Come on, clicky, there we go. So sort of like knowing your way around people, that sort of thing. And it's what was I gonna say? Thinking about detectives, I'm thinking about how much I've been the Brooklyn Nine-Nine I've been watching recently, and it's, yeah, information knowledge, using that to your advantage. And I'm drawing a huge blank here, which is kind of embarrassing because I usually have a train of thought running, or several train of thoughts running, but instead I'm just having a very blank head on this very cold Sunday morning, which is, I suppose right now for me is an interesting and new experience, because let's be honest, I don't consider myself great at impromptu speaking, but it's at the same time it's sort of the same reason why I'm sort of doing these vlogs in the first place, because I feel like I need to practice sort of just verbalizing my train of thought in a hopefully coherent way, because usually what's happening in my head is that sometimes I'm thinking a lot, sometimes when I'm really quiet I'm having far too many directions of thoughts, far too many trains of thoughts going off at once, and it's kind of just plain irritating. So it's sort of just like sitting here playing Titan Quest and just talking about a single topic and just following the train of thought is just something for me to practice. And so far I think it's actually, I like to think I'm making a bit of progress every time, but I know I still have a fair way to go. So it's one of those things that I should continue to keep doing and keep practicing. And I guess the advantage of playing a game at the same time is that it minimizes my train of thoughts as well, so that I could just follow one and then just keep talking on it. And so far from personal observation, that seems to be going fairly well. So I'm pretty happy with that so far. And gosh, I still can't think of anything. I'm pretty sure I have a few other things to sort of tack onto the whole lying with your information. That's it. You know when those telemarketers call you and it's just like they're offering some kind of service. It's like, hey, it's like good. I can't even imitate a goddamn telemarketer. It's like basically saying, Good morning, sir. Would you be interested in a free house inspection? We just happen to be in the area, and so on and so forth. And I mean, while some people are obviously a bit more what's the word? I guess less polite, and they would just put down the receiver after hearing it's a telemarketer, and I guess people like me want to be a bit nice and just say, "Oh, thank you," but we're not interested. And maybe I'll just make up a white lie and just say, "Oh, thank you, but unfortunately, we already had someone we assess, or like, we already had someone assess the value of our house last week, and it's sort of just like saying these white lies for me that is really interesting because one, I'm really bad at lying, or at least I like to think I'm bad at lying in person because I'm just someone who just, it's like either I say the truth or I just avoid saying anything, and I just don't feel like I can lie very well, and so it's like the first time when I successfully told a white lie over the phone, I was just like, hey, I can actually do this. But but yeah, again, it's sort of coming back to the same thing. Whether it is what you say is verifiable, and sort of just recognizing where you can and cannot get away with things, that sort of thing. And it's just what I found interesting over time was just thinking about the variety of situations where sometimes you can use that knowledge to manipulate other people, or you can kind of just, or so just sort of use it to work your way around people who don't know any better. And it's like I'm just thinking of like a parental technique, and it's basically it's like they would say, okay, it's like a parental tip sort of thing. So basically they tell the children, if you lie, your ears turn red. So it's like when the children seemingly get in trouble, they will, because they don't know any better, they will cover the ears when they were trying to lie about something, so the parent will know they're lying. But obviously, because your ears don't turn red when you lie, so it's just one of those like well, in this case, it's harmless. It's cute. It's a little cute, manipulative, harmless way of just understanding. Okay, I'll say it's a cute, harmless way of manipulating the children, and but that for me is interesting to sort of just rethink about and just think, that's one way to get around it. And just alright, I'll just pop these in. And what's this one? Says betrayal. Okay, excellent. Alright. Wait, delay. No, all good. I should probably do these. Dump more into intelligence, and I've got 3 unused skill points. So what I'll do is pop one there, and pop one there. Okay. And the verifiable over the phone white lies, and yeah, I think it's just sort of really interesting to think about the situations where you can lie and get away with it, and where you can't. And that was the other thing that came to mind. I can't remember her name now, but it was like there was this famous, well, seemingly famous person, at least here in Australia, or at least like that I've seen in the Australian news, that she basically said that she had like incurable cancer, and she was getting better through non-medical means. And I remember seeing the article a couple of months ago that where she admitted it was all basically a hoax, and that got me thinking. It was like she basically misled so many people because she could. And because her claims were unverifiable, people basically took her on her word, which for me was interesting because one it it's an indication of how naive some people can be, and how using, I suppose, other means of appeal, she was able to, I guess, sort of manipulate people. I don't know why I don't like saying the word manipulate. I guess it just seems like a bad word to me. But yeah, basically, so she was like, she gave people hope in believing that there was some alternate medical alternative to curing cancer, and it's manipulating people's emotions, and sort of like it sort of gave people hope, that sort of thing. And for me, it's fascinating because, one, she managed to get away with it for long enough that she actually had a following, and two, that some people are actually dumb enough to believe her. Now, you could blame who's to blame. There's a couple of different ways you could look at it. One, you can blame the person herself for lying to the people in the first place, or you can blame her following for being stupid enough to. I guess I shouldn't be so harsh to such people, but you can also you can basically look at such people and just say, well, when any of you suspicious enough to sort of just think, maybe something's not quite right here, and I suppose that just says something, or is indicative of how people are swayed and maybe how they approach certain things. I'm trying to say this as politically correct as possible. So yeah, it's like how people think, how they approach things, and what basically appeals to them. So I suppose what appeals to some people is sort of just an emotional sort of attachment, and sort of confirmation bias is the word I'm looking for here, but I need to explain this in more rudimentary terms. It's sort of like people are just looking for something that will confirm their own personal beliefs, which is unfortunately a very normal aspect of the human condition. I say unfortunately, but I'm privy to it as well. So I'm not trying to say that everyone's at fault except me. So yeah, confirmation bias, and it's also sort of an appeal to emotions of frustration, maybe, and it's sort of like the whole anti-vaccine movement is sort of just like, I feel like the person who really, I don't even know who that person is, and I think it's a good thing I don't know, but it's sort of like the person who initially spearheaded the whole anti-vaccine movement was also preying on sort of like people's suspicions that it's sort of like the what if that's lurking in the back of your head, and for some people that what if is strong enough such that if some public or authority figure said something that supported that what if, then they would sort of just hook onto that and roll with it, which is, I suppose, with the anti-vaccine movement, why it's sort of become a big enough thing for it to be concerning, and in to the point where institutions, schools have had to introduce basically legislations and regulations to basically say your child needs to be vaccinated, otherwise we will not accept your child into this school / institution sort of thing. So again, there's obviously two ways you could look at it. One is that you can think, well, these people are stupid, or maybe more politically correct, maybe I could say perhaps they're just not educated well enough, or they don't trust science enough, or I suppose there's several different there's several different ways you could look at it as well. And the other thing, what is this? It's a spear. The other thing that comes to mind when thinking about this, this was actually a personal experience of mine. So I will admit this was back in my life journal days when I was a little more naive. But I was contacted through my life journal. It was just a random message from someone who was just she was maybe needing a bit of help, needing a bit of attention. She said she found me through. Okay, maybe it's not even a she because, oh dear, I'm in a bit of trouble. I need to focus on this, and I need to run. I need to wait until my cooldowns come down and then blast this. That should get them. Okay, I am a freaking idiot. Let's summon him again. Oh, need to concentrate on this. Oh boy. Stun. And run. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Stop focusing on me. Wow, this is like... Oh, okay. Scram. Holy Jesus. Okay. Where was I? Live journal guy randomly messages me, and yeah, he was basically the story was that he was a man. Well, no, his story was that he was male trapped in a female's body with and one thing. Oh, I don't even know. I'm gonna just use the gender neutral way of referring to them, so they... I hope that's the politically correct way of doing it. If not, feel free to... I do apologize in advance. So they, singular... They, singular, was a boy trapped in a girl's body. And was also an intersex person. An intersex is someone who has ambiguous genitalia. So, and for lack of a better explanation, I suppose the only explanation is that obviously the gender is not very well defined because of it. Well, I don't quite remember the reasons off the top of my head, but. Yeah, there are a couple of reasons. So basically, the genitalia is ambiguous, and but it was also, for him, it was also a case of identity in that he was a man and he had the body of a woman. And one thing, okay, I would just say he will keep going about because for identity he was supposed to this is so awkward for me. A boy in a girl's body, so I will refer to them as he. So he kept going on about having big breasts, basically, and he was supposedly quite upset and depressed about the situation, and the parents were being rather supportive. And I will admit, I got, you know, I was speaking. How was I speaking to this person? It was either through MSN or through Skype. So I was just trying. No, actually, now that I think about it, it was definitely through MSN. Oh, those were the good old days. It was definitely through MSN, and I remember see, I'm trying to follow the trend. Obviously I wanted to help this person, but I was like I didn't know anything about intersex people back then, or at least I knew something about sort of the whole transgender sort of thing. Because I had a friend at the time who was sort of just struggling with his own gender identity as well. I wonder how he's doing. Anyway, so it was just basically him telling me these stories, and I was just like, and I guess my way, why I eventually ended up doing in the end was just, well, you know. It was also just sort of like sitting down to talk to him, and I guess my way of just sort of helping people work through the problems was just like to sort of help them figure out how to deal with it. rather than being someone who just whoops, that's wrong merchant. It was like I'm the kind of guy that would just think of a solution to the problem rather than sort of instinctively just sort of like sit down and listen because like say you wanted a bit of comfort, so to speak. So it was like I was just sitting down. I was just like, well, are you going to the school or something? Maybe you could talk to the counselor, that sort of thing. And yeah, it was sort of slightly I don't know what's the right word to say here. Sort of like avoidant. It was like they kind of just didn't want to do anything about it. And yeah, I just remember thinking, well, I'll just I'll just holler to my friend who's dealing with gender issues to talk to this guy, and yeah, just see if we could help him out. And then it was like a while. It was like several years later. I actually read about sort of like I don't want to say attention whores. It was more like just people who prey on others. It was sort of like just people who prey on others. Sort of like sense of caring, and they get attention like that. So I guess, well, I'm basically thinking of Munchausen's, which is sort of like I think it's a psychological disorder where it was sort of like it's like a psychological disorder where people fake having medical illnesses so that they can get attention from doctors, but basically because they're craving attention, and they know they can get attention through the doctors, through the people. It so it's also in the same way that when I was talking to him, Mr. Intersex guy, I'm sure some people will get onto me for that one. In that maybe he was someone who was just looking for attention and had made up a story because he knew that story was unverifiable. So yeah, I mean, it was like a few years, it was like some number of years later after interacting with that guy, I read about people who like prey on others' feelings because they enjoy the attention, and they're sort of like I suppose like a pathological liar sort of thing. And yeah, and then I remember talking to the intersex guy. I was thinking, damn, maybe he was one of those people as well. And yeah, it's an interesting experience that I had. And I suppose I'm lucky in the sense that I didn't really like say, we should probably meet up so we can talk in person about it, or say I didn't give him my address or any details like that. So yeah, it's an interesting experience to reflect on. And I suppose I could go on a bit longer about pathological liars and such, but unfortunately, according to the timer, I've already... Golly, it's almost been 34 minutes. That means I should probably pick a topic with less content next time. Anyway, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and yeah, I think I might be doing this on a weekly schedule, so there will probably be another video next week. And that's where I will see you next time. Bye!